exercise principles. So what is exercise? So it is a type of physical activity that requires planned, structured, and repetitive bodily movements. So this is in accordance to the goal or the objective of improving your overall physical fitness level. So it is also an activity that requires physical effort that's carried out to sustain or improve our health and fitness. So your goal should always be SMART. S stands for specific, M for measurable, A for attainable or realistic, and T for time bound. So sticking to this type of goal gets you a higher chance of success in achieving fitness. So every one of us has different goals when we are taking an exercise. So it is performed for various reasons. So for others, it aids for growth and improve strength. So others want to prevent aging, to develop muscles and cardiovascular system damage. Others want to hone their athletic skills. Some want to have a weight loss or maintenance, improve health, or simply for enjoyment. So knowing the definition and purpose of exercise as well as the proper goal setting techniques, we can now be able to start with a good footing as to why the different exercise principles are very much important in any training program. So the second part, the FITT principle. So this is the most basic principle in exercise. So F stands for frequency, I for intensity, and T stands for time, and the other T stands for type of exercise. So these four are the most important things we need to consider as a beginner in exercise or in fitness. So this principle will always serve as backbone of a well-structured training program that we want to do when it comes to exercising. So for frequency, in the aerobic activity, so if you want to improve your aerobic capacity or your endurance, so we must follow a strict exercise frequency of 3 to 5 days within a week. For muscular endurance or strength exercise, so we need at least 2 to 3 non-consecutive days per week. So what does it mean? So if you want to take an exercise during Tuesdays or Thursdays or Mondays and Fridays, so should not be a non-consecutive days. So this is to allow our body a minimum of 24 hours and a maximum of 48 hours of recovery or complete rest. So for flexibility exercises, so unlike all other training programs that we have, so this can be done on a daily basis. So the ideal way to go in improving our flexibility is that we should always incorporate it at the start and at the end of our training program. So we have two types of stretches. The first one, the dynamic stretches, are moving stretches that we ideally perform at the start or beginning of an exercise. On the other hand, the static stretches are non-moving stretches that we do after a workout. So stretching helps to improve joint flexibility and keep muscle limber. So its goal is to improve the range of motion, which can reduce the chance of injury. So B, intensity principle, how much effort or how hard. So we actually need to stress our body enough to inhibit improvements and adaptation. So exercising lower than normal or with little exertion can waste both our energy and our time. So to do that, for muscular endurance and strength training, so the intensity which we need to work out is dependent on the type of activity that we want to specifically engage in. So in strength training, intensity is measured through the amount of the weights that we lift. So this is safe to say that the intensity we put is measured best through trial and error. So by this way, say for instance, if you're a beginner, we always start with lighter ones. And as days go by, day by day, we are increasing an intensity which is applicable to our muscle strength. Okay, next for the aerobic exercise. It is also different when you are engaged in this activity. So example, in running, so during our first attempt, we don't run the whole marathon area, but we start small and work our little way, little by little, or step by step. So how long? So this refers to the exact time or duration of an exercise about that we aim to do. So knowing how long we should work out is a good step in gaining the maximum benefits. So from the exercise. So for flexibility, the duration of each stretch should at least 40 for 30 seconds. So we should be repeated 3 to 4 times per muscle group. So unlike the cardio and weight training, the flexibility exercise can be performed every day and there is no actual limit as to how long you can stretch. So we should make it clear in our mind that if what exactly is that what we want to do. So this way we are conditioning our mind for the activity that we are about to undertake. So choosing the type of activity that specifically interests or brings curiosity in us is something that we should aim to pursue. Because activities that spark up interest in us are the ones that can surely motivate us in order to push love on what we do and to pursue it with great passion. Third part, the overload principle. So our body becomes stronger and functions better if we increase the demand or stress on it. So this principle does not mean that if you lift 5 kilos today, the next session you will lift 40 kilograms. No. So this is a perfect example in which people engage in exercise endanger themselves in the process. They are only causing injuries in their bodies. But we should take it one step at a time. So if you take 5 kilograms a day, maybe tomorrow you could add up another 5 kilos or another 2 kilos to maintain the adaptation of our body. The fourth one, the specificity. So this principle aims to develop a certain component or several components of fitness. So this is designed so that we will be able to have a goal for ourselves on how much effort and what type of effort we are going to exert in certain kinds of exercise that we wanted to do. Okay, these are the example. So your goal is to develop certain components of fitness. If you are aiming for cardiovascular endurance, so you can do the cardio training. If you want to have a strength and endurance, we can go with the resistance training. And for flexibility, we can go with flexibility training. So all of these talks about the specific activity that we want to do. The principles of progression and variation. So for variation, it is the principle that focuses on changing our activities, enable for us to prevent boredom from happening, for doing the exercise over and over again, and so that we won't lose interest in our training program. So without progressing or varying our activities, we will experience plateau in our training routine. So plateau pertains to a condition in exercise where no physical adaptations are happening. So you are doing the same activity, uh, the same over and over again. So due to improper amount of overload or stimuli. So the part 7, the principles of reversibility and the law of diminishing returns. So the first one, the principle of reversibility. So the moment you stop training, you slowly lose your level of fitness and general adaptation to exercise. That's why this principle of reversibility is also known as the use it or lose it. So what the body doesn't utilize, it will lose it. But the reverse may also happen when you start to move and use it. So if you start to use your body through physical activity and regular exercise again, the body begins to adapt to the situation all over again. So on the example, Manny Pacquiao has been at this sport for many years, as we all know, right? So hence his body has already been used to intense training and physical exertion. So the law basically gives the reason why as Pacquiao further progresses in his training routine, he needs to find other activities that are more challenging and more stimulating. That is to keep his adaptation at par, at balance. So while the young boy on the other picture, so he starts off by developing his basic skill and then eventually climbs up the ladder of his training or exercise routine. So just like what is in his background, if that is his goal, he can do it one by one by increasing the stressor of the physical exercise that he is undergone or undergoing. For the part 8, we have the arrangement of exercise. So what are some of our large muscle groups? So these are located at the lower part of our body. So it is composed of bundles of muscles that slide onto each other in every movement that we perform. So the warm up and cool down, we do warm up. These are activities done at the beginning of an exercise with the goal of raising our body's core temperature and also increasing the capacity of our muscles to perform contractions and relaxation during activities. So examples are jogging in place, brisk walking, and dynamic or moving stretches. The next, we have progressive resistance training. Sorry, we check first the cool downs. Okay, cool downs is the reverse or the opposite of warm up. So in this activity, it is done towards the end of exercise routine. So with the goal of gradually returning our body to homeostasis and complete relaxation. As we all know, we lose lots of oxygen in our body while performing a heavy exercise. So cool downs can help us to balance the oxygen that have been lost in our body. So some basic examples, we have slow walk and static or non-moving stretch. The progressive resistance training, it is a type of training that incorporates a gradual increase in weights. So lifted to fit a specific type of program in a certain number of weeks of adaptation. So depending on your age and on your weight and the condition of your health. So it is a type of training that may possibly aid in weight loss and gains in muscle mass. In this type of training, the use of special equipment like bands, weights, kettlebells, so allows us for the progression in the workout routine. On the other side, the principle of retrogression, it refers to the overtraining the body by not allowing it ample recovery. So it means that if you train too hard that you don't get the ample time to rest in between our exercises. But this is not applicable for those who are beginners. We should always remember that resting or recovery is still important and still a component in fitness that we need to take into consideration. So for the principle of recovery, how much time we should allot for recovery? So usually, the recovery time depends on the type of activity that we are supposed to do. So for cardio, training requires at least 2 or 3 sessions of 24-hour recovery time. This is for us to enable our muscle fibers and other organ systems to return into its homeostasis. Homeostasis means balancing of the what's in our body. Okay, balancing of the temperature of the liquid. So while the resistance training or weight training exercise need at least 24 to 48 hours of recovery time for us to inhibit muscle fiber repair and growth in our body. So, according to research, a lack of physical activity causes approximately 6% of the burden of coronary heart diseases and also 7% of type 2 diabetes and 10% of breast cancer and 10% of colon cancer worldwide. So therefore, exercise is not only beneficial to our body, but also it can help us to prevent further damage in our body or injuries and even prevent us from getting other diseases that we could get when we are only sitting around or taking a nap or even if we are a sedentary person. Sedentary means that we are not doing any activity